Warelock. I'm doing a presentation on an advancement in cryptocurrency and privacy centered around the cryptocurrency called Pirate Chain for the 404 Discord group. Okay, so there has been a recent advancement. A little backstory here. I do have interest in cybersecurity, but as sort of a corollary here, there's the concept and topic of privacy. And so I did a pretty deep dive into cryptocurrencies, the most popular of which is Bitcoin. And there's a bunch of spinoffs of Bitcoin in different sort of generations. And so Pirate Chain is, I would say, probably fourth generation, whereas Bitcoin is the first generation. And they're all pretty much spinoffs of Bitcoin with enhancements. And the enhancement that Pirate Chain is really important in that, as you can see from this web page, which is pirate.black, I placed links to these things that I'm going to be presenting into the Meetup text channel. So you can click on those and follow along or read through the website. So this is the main website for Pirate Chain, and the way that it stands out is that it's, as it says, the most anonymous cryptocurrency, a truly private, decentralized blockchain, which is completely different from things, even Monero, right, which is another privacy coin that's out there. And that's a distinction that's drawn between non-private and private, whereas non-private is Bitcoin. Bitcoin and pretty much literally every other spinoff that's out there. Pirate Chain is a unique case, and specifically they have a special technology called ZK Snarks, which is sort of a short term for zero knowledge proofs, which basically means that whereas everything out there is traceable in one form or another, even Monero to some degree, Monero does take it a little bit further than all the other stuff that's out there, but they don't go as far as Pirate Chain does. So basically what that means is, practically speaking, when you use it, you leave exactly zero evidence behind. For every cryptocurrency out there, there is a synonymous website that goes along with that called an Explorer website. And they're all pretty easy to find. But every transaction you have Bitcoin, people will know what the balance is of the wallet associated with it. It's public information. Every transaction, where it went from, where it went to. And for the most part, people's identities are not associated with that. So, and with respect to that, that would be private, right? But the bar is way too high for the average user to retain their privacy and anonymity, whereas with Pirate Chain, it leaks absolutely nothing. So it is literally unique. So I encourage you to check it out. Put a link in the chat. It's called pirate.black, which is this website you're looking at now. And their sort of initial offering were software to run a full node in the blockchain mesh network, which every blockchain or cryptocurrency out there, they have a mesh network, which is the actual blockchain network. So Pirate Chain is no different. It has one as well. You can run a full-blown node if you wanted to, or they also have light wallets. You can just download an app and put it on your phone. And so there are advantages and disadvantages of that. So the initial offering was software. So they have a nice big fat button here for wallets. And so you can download software and run it that way. But when you do that, your secrets that leverage your actual cryptocurrency were generated online in your PC. And that's a security risk that some people don't like to take. So there's a concept of a cold storage wallet, which is a hardware device, typically USB, that can sit in your pocket and is offline. There's no wireless at all, no battery. And the idea is that you would generate your secrets that leverage your money and help you retain, basically guarantee your ownership of it. Those get generated offline. So it's an important development, and it's relatively new. But there's an actual hardware device, which I will be demoing. So that's the point of this talk today. So I encourage you to check out this website. This hardware wallet you can actually find on this website here. This is a sort of an eBay, in a sense, if you want to buy and sell things using this Pirate Chain cryptocurrency. You can come here and literally just browse through. They've got categories. And the reason why I show this is that this is where you would go to find this device here, the Pirate Chain hardware wallet, which basically looks like this. So it's a hardware device. It does cost a little bit of money, but it's kind of synonymous with what you would pay for example, a competitor product called a Trezor, which I can actually show you as well at the end of this if anyone wants to see it, which is another hardware device that literally you can use for every other type of cryptocurrency. The reason why this device here is important is that it's literally the only thing in existence that is sophisticated enough to actually do the cryptography required to permanently and irrevocably preserve your privacy and anonymity. You can spend parachain out in the open, and no one will know how much money you have or where you spent it. So it's a very important development. It is possible to use an air-gapped laptop in as a substitute for this, but it's more cumbersome. And this is a nice little device because it is very small. And I'll have a ruler here to show you a scale when I show you the live video, which I'll be presenting. So anyway, I placed a link to the main website, barter.com, Barrrtr, which comes from R as in a pirate. Okay, that's literally like with Bitcoin, it's BTC is their stock ticker moniker. With Pirate Chain, it's R, ARRR, like a pirate. So anyway, so if you go to this website, you'll find this listing, and this is the actual item itself. Okay, and the guy who developed it is literally, this is his GitHub page, which I also placed a link. This guy is Mulroy. They have a Discord server, and he features prominently on that. And so the software comes, there's software that sits on the PC side. Essentially, this is a USB connection with a cable. And so you have to have helper software that gets loaded up and talks to the actual USB device, which I will also be demonstrating. Where you would get that from right now is he's got a GitHub repository, which I'm going to now, and it's under Pirate Hardware Interface, which you can actually do a git clone on that and compile it. It takes just a second. It's got a simple README with I think it's just two copy and paste instructions to actually build the GUI. So I leave that to you. And so this is pretty much just the web pages I wanted to show you. Again, all the links are in the chat. So here we have, you should be able to see 3 different windows. This one here shows live video right here, as you can see, my hand passing over that. This device here, this metal case, is the actual hardware cold storage wallet. And again, it's for generating the private keys that leverage your money, that no one else can spend that money but you. And that generation was done offline purely in this device, not in any online software. The online software that you would normally use would be this here. This is called Treasure Chest. This is downloadable off the pirate.black website, which is the first website I showed you. And these do work in conjunction in that you do initiate the transaction here, but it gets signed offline with you copying and pasting something from this Treasure Chest software over to this little helper app here. That's this window. And as you can see, it auto-detected and this is being run in Linux, by the way, but I believe the software can be built on Windows and also Mac. So this is meant to be universal. So these are the basic, what you would see, right? In reality, you would have a little USB cold storage device such as this over here saying Pirate R version 2.3, which is a software update from the initial version that was shipped. And I booted it up, so it's actually ready to go, but the connection hasn't been established yet. So I'm going to run through what you would see if you had one of these devices. So that way you kind of get a gist of what's going on here. So the device is ready. I'm going to initiate a connection from this helper software here. There's a big fat connect button. And so I'm just going to run through this. I'm going to initiate a connection. Takes a second. Connection detected. And this is a security feature in that this physical device here does not have any buttons on it or even a touch screen. Like the Trezor Model T has a touch screen. A Ledger device, which is also similar, has buttons on it, which you would interact with it. This does not have that. So the mechanism that they use to keep the user in the loop of any cryptographic operations that this thing might do is essentially a request. That's why this number exists here. So it takes a user physically to read it off the screen and type it in here to establish the trust relationship between this PC software and this offline device or this nearline device. And as you can see, there's the USB cable plugged into it, and it's micro USB. So I'm going to type in this random code. Click submit. And I don't know why it's not connecting. Oh, there we go. So now we have you saw a brief connection established screen, and there's a grid. And so the idea is that when you set this up, you get, just like any other Trezor or Ledger device, it's going to generate you a set of keywords that you need to physically write down on paper to safeguard it, because the private key that's generated in this offline device can be fully reestablished from that set of English words, which I've already done. And the idea is you never ever reveal that to anybody, because literally you can recreate your whole setup just from those words. Once that's been established, there is a password that gets set up for you, and it's essentially it's a grid. This grid of emojis here corresponds with this grid here on this screen, and so that's a sequence of 4 emojis that represents your actual password. That's similar to like a little PIN code that you would be entering physically in if this thing had buttons, which it doesn't. So the idea here is that you can use either these buttons on the screen, up, down, left, right, and select to move this little cursor on this grid to correspond to the emojis of your password. It seems complicated, but it's actually very easy to remember pictures. So I already have something established, so I'm going to untape this, and I'm not going to show you my password, but essentially you can navigate this grid. Actually, I can show you one incorrect example, just to show you that the extra security they baked into this. So if I chose, right now it's on grid B5. If I select that with the, I can use the 2, 4, 6, 8 numbers on my keypad and the 5 to select it. So if I just select this random one, which is B5, for example, it numbers it, and then it jumps to a separate grid location randomly. And that's important because if somebody were to sniff the keystrokes of your keyboard to try to reverse engineer the password, they can't, because it's a random position on that grid that's only privy to this physical device itself. The PC is not aware of it at all. So you have to basically navigate around, move this little grid pointer and choose the correct, next emoji. So if I just randomly pick another one, I randomly pick another one. This is just an example of an incorrect password. It says password failed, 7 attempts remaining. Okay. If you were to do that, 7 times, the device literally wipes itself. It doesn't mean you lose your all your money. You just have to set it up from scratch and enter those keywords again, offline. Okay. Or well, yeah. In the case of that, it's probably best to connect this to like an air-gapped laptop if you're going to actually type in those keywords, because you never want to type those in online unless you're going to generate a brand new set, just for security purposes. But I just wanted to show you the disconnect, that it's a random position on the grid between each input, and that's what allows you to do this with a PC keyboard and not leak any actual information that could be reverse engineered back to your password to get into this thing. So now I'm going to take this off here, and I'm going to enter in my 4 little emojis. This takes a minute. Let's see. So give me just a second here. This one. Next one. That. So I'm pretty much doing what I showed you before, but I'm actually putting in the correct one now. And the last one is down there. Almost done. Just make sure I get it right. And as you can see, it says password correct. Okay. That literally has to be done every time that you do this, and there is an issue with how slow the input is, but that was actually engineered into it, and I had conversations with the developer to have them correct that to make it faster, which he can remove that delay. Okay, so now this password is correct. As you can see, the helper screen changed, and it's ready with this input field, and this is an output field. and this is for what's called an offline transaction. The offline transaction is actually generated within this full node software over here called Treasure Chest, which I will now, let me see, I'm going to unlock it. With a separate passphrase. Oops, hold on. Give me a second here. Okay, so this is the, I'm not showing you the whole thing because there are some private addresses here. They all start off with a keyword ZS1, and it's like a long hex string. But these are recent transactions. So this is the balance of this wallet here. There is another button down here called Retrieve Address, which if you click on this, it's sort of like toggles between these two modes. And if you say Request Address, you'll get two things. The spending address, which is how you send money into the wallet, this hardware wallet, and what it controls. And it'll also give you this piece of information called a viewing key, which you go here to the normal. Once you click this request address, this gets populated with a really long string, which you copy and you paste into this import spending key feature here. It does take about a half an hour to properly import that because it has to scan through all the data in the blockchain database. And for Pirate Chain right now, that's 17 gigabytes fully synchronized, which this thing already has, but I've already done this import, which is why you see a balance. Okay, so that's already been done. You can also look at transactions here that if I showed you the whole thing, you'd see all these private addresses. But as you can see, as you do these transactions, that's where these lines come from. So this one, let's see, I can put this over here. So these other tabs are like, for example, I have the hot wallet, which is money that's actually residing in this online wallet. And I have the cold wallet, which is literally this money is leveraged by this hardware device. So I did a previous transfer of like 5 Pirate Chain coin. So I'm going to do an offline transaction. I'm going to transfer another 5 over from the cold wallet to the hot wallet. And you'll see the process as it occurs. So in order to do this, since I'm going from this cold wallet to hot wallet, you want to right click this line up here and say copy address because that's the recipient, which you're going to need for this screen here where I'm actually going to compose an offline transaction. I could do this with this other coins here that are online because that's the hot wallet money right now, which only has 5 coins, but we're going to do an offline transaction from the cold wallet to the hot wallet of another 5 coins. So now I'm going to pay to the destination address of the hot wallet, which I copied from the previous screen. I'm going to tell it 5 R coin, I guess is what you call it. You can say, use available balance, okay, that actually pulls in that complete amount that was shown before, but we're not going to do that whole amount. We're going to just do a subset of this. So I'm just going to say 5 as an example. And down here is this transaction fee, because what we're doing is we're going to be doing a blockchain transaction, which is how all cryptocurrency is spent. It's essentially a broadcast across a mesh network, which is a bunch of volunteers and people like me. This running right now is actually functioning as one node of that mesh network. And even a light wallet, like an app that you might download, has to talk at some point to some full node to do its transaction on its behalf. So we're shortcutting that, and we're just literally using full node software. The transaction fee, I bumped it up a little bit, but by default, it's 0.0001 R. And based on exchange rates, this overview screen will actually tell you right now. This goes out and it queries an exchange that's out there in the world. So market rate right now for 1 R is right now it's 30 cents. Okay, so 5 times 30 cents is basically what we're going to be transferring over. Okay, so as I go back to the screen, I lost all the data, so I'm going to paste it again. So this is where it's going from, which is this offline wallet, to this online wallet, which is this software here. And then I'm going to tell it exactly how much. This is the standard transaction fee, and so you're kind of in competition with all the other people using the blockchain network to have this transacted. So if I just were to leave this alone, it would kind of take as long as it takes, right? which actually in the case of Bitcoin is going to be super friggin' slow and expensive. So it's nice that there are other cryptocurrencies available, but you can also slightly bump up this transaction fee. I am just for grins going to double it, and that actually does make a difference. But given that 1R right now the going rate is like 30 cents, you can see how this is like a fraction of a fraction of a penny. It's literally next to nothing, even if I were to double that transaction fee. But you can leave that alone. But for this demo, just to make it go faster, I'm going to double it. So now, because I selected the source of this is the offline wallet, this cold storage wallet, that's why it says prepare offline transaction. And if I was transferring money from the hot wallet, you would not see this. It would literally just go through. Like if I was sending money from me to you from my hot wallet, it would just, this would not be an offline transaction. So the only reason it says this is because we're using a key that was generated offline. So now I'm going to click this and you'll get a pop-up. You confirm it. And then it will create a request. That's what this is. And so this data has to be copied from here. Let me switch back from here to here. And then when you say sign, it takes that data that you copied over, transfers it over the USB connection, and then you have to confirm it. And once you confirm it, then it actually signs it, transmits it back, and then I will paste it back over to this other field here. So let me show you how that's done. So I will take this now, and this is merely just a request because no cryptography has actually happened yet, which is a good security feature. I'm going to paste this here. And then I'm going to say sign, but again, this is literally just a request. And then now this is an enhanced feature here that steps you through, use the back and the next buttons here to change the data on this little screen so that you can verify, what you're requesting of the hardware wallet. So as a security feature, if somebody were to intercept your copy and paste, because there is malware that does that, unfortunately, to change the destination address. If you know what those destination addresses are, you can simply step through this, which I will do now. Click next. You'll see the text change. You can then visually verify with this actual physical USB device here. Is this the actual address that it should be coming from? Which it is, because I recognize it ends in 0CE. Go to the next screen. There will be two outputs for this transaction because some of this money will, most of this money will be going where I intended to go to, but a small fraction as a fee by the guy who created this as a service, it's 0.25% of the transaction. And this is only for sending money out of the wallet. Incoming transactions of sending money to the wallet, there's no fee at all. So it's a very, very tiny fee, right? So it's going to be like a fraction of a penny. So you won't even, under most circumstances, you won't even notice it at all. So this is just telling you that there's two outputs. Output number one is correct because that's where I'm going to be sending it to, which is my hot wallet. It's very important that you visualize it, or that you look at the physical screen of your device and as an operator validate that that's correct. That's how you know that nothing's been messed with. Next screen. These are the outputs and the details of the money, which is correct because it's 5 UR, I guess. And then you end up at this OTP code, which again, this is a way to ensure that the person who is requesting this transaction, like literally it just didn't wake up on its own and you just hit OK, right? So this is where you validate this, and this will not go forward until you look at the screen, read this number off. It's very similar to like a Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator, where there's a code on the screen. So I'm going to enter this in. Sure it's correct. And then this will send this from this helper software to this. And as you can see, it's actually doing the cryptographic signing offline. And a little progress bar. Usually doesn't have to go to 100%. I think it's about 40% when it actually completes. So we're at 25%, 26. Okay, completed, as you can see on the screen. This is still not completed yet because this data here has to be copied and pasted from here to your hot wallet software. which is like mailing a letter, and you're like literally just sticking it in the mailbox right now to be sent out over the postal network of the blockchain as a broadcast transaction. There will be an error when I hit send transaction, but we can ignore that. I think it timed out. Let me see. I'm going to cancel this to unlock it. This hot wallet software has a little bit of a timeout for security. Oops. Okay. And oops. All right. And so under the transaction screen, okay, it didn't go through. That's okay. That data is a low-level command, which this is a workaround here, but because I'm explaining this, it wouldn't have timed out. So I'm just going to bring up the debug window, go to the console, paste it. It's like a little, oops, it's a little bit of a workaround, but since I just can just copy this and paste it. Normally speaking, you wouldn't have to do this, but this is a little workaround. You'd paste it into the debug window, send it as a command. And let's see if it actually went through. Okay, I don't think it actually took. Well, demonstration effect, right? Okay. That's just because I'm explaining this. So given that you've seen the process, I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to clear this out and I'm going to try it one more time. So I'm going to do recipient address, paste. We'll do 5. Prepare. Get another pop-up. If it ever fails like that, you can just redo it because that transaction didn't go through at all. Copy and paste it. Hit sign. Next. 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 Yeah, it looks correct. Looks correct. Okay, OTP code. Let it sign it. They just recently changed the timeout feature of the hot wallet software, so. Let this finish again. And this is what you have to do for a second transaction anyway, so this is, you have to become familiar with this process. So it signed it. We're good to go. We're gonna select all, copy, and we paste it here. Send. Okay, now you will see sending failed, but that's not really the case. Transactions. Okay. So that actually did get registered, which is normally what would happen. As you can see, these are prior transactions. There's a status symbol here with a check mark. Those have been confirmed many times over. That fee that you paid, you're actually paying other operators, full node systems on the blockchain mesh network to process this transaction over and over again and confirm it. When it has a question mark like this, if you hover over it, you'll see that it says unconfirmed in the tooltip. What we're now waiting for is a confirmation, at least one confirmation. If you were buying something from a merchant, they might just be cool with just one confirmation just for expediency. But essentially what we did is we broadcast this transaction out onto this mesh network, and then somebody's going to pick it up and process it. And then when we get one confirmation, at least it'll change from a question mark to a little clock symbol. And when it gets 6 confirmations or more, then it changes into the clock will be completely full icon, and it'll change to a check mark. And as you can see on this one, confirmed 1,438 confirmations, because I did this like, I think it was like 2 days ago. So over time, it gets confirmed and reconfirmed and confirmed and reconfirmed. But most people would say that 6 confirmations is like literally all you need, even if it was Bitcoin, to be absolutely completely confirmed. So right now we're at the mercy of the blockchain. So we're kind of waiting right now. Does anybody have any questions for me? Is my audio coming through?
Oh yeah,
Yes, it
you're doing
is.
great. Love
Yep.
this
Okay.
stuff.
And I'm just kind of going. I'm just kind of plowing through this, just for the sake of the recording, just to kind of get it out. Once it's actually been completed, then we'll open it up to general. But as we're waiting, if anybody's got any questions about this at all.
Well, where's the
Oh,
status bar? Since we're at the mercy of the blockchain.
well,
Um,
essentially that's what this is, right? So
okay, so we're just waiting for the received with, basically.
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, there's essentially three entries in this ledger, and these entries here, you can see all of the transactional data because you generated it. Okay. And when it's done, what I'll do is I will right click one of these and you can say copy transaction ID. You can take that transaction ID and go to the Pirate Chain Explorer website. For every cryptocurrency, there's an Explorer website, which you can paste in a transaction ID. And in the case of Bitcoin, it would literally show you everything. You have no privacy at all. And I will demonstrate this when we go to the Pirate Chain Explorer website. That even if we take this transaction ID, which anybody could do in the world, if they know it, which I mean, that's public information. But I'll pull that up, and we'll see that there's literally zero information at all. You won't see a recipient address, a destination address, an amount, a balance, nothing.
Hmm, cool.
So that's the overall process. Um, And I guess as we're waiting, and this will update live, so it really shouldn't take that long. But it sort of takes as long as it takes, essentially, and that's why you want to maybe bump up that transaction amount as a more of an incentive, kind of like paying when you go to a Six Flags Magic Mountain or something. You get those special tickets that let you go to the front of the line. So hopefully that should help. But this is not going to be anywhere near as slow as the Bitcoin thing. So having a hardware device like this is a convenience, really, because again, you can do all of this with this full software copied to an air-gapped laptop and do the same thing for free if you wanted to. But that's only if you actually had an air-gapped laptop, which really could be any laptop that you cracked open and you physically remove the wireless M2 dongle so that it can't have any Wi-Fi or Bluetooth at all, and you never plug it into a network. I actually have a laptop that I sacrificed for that purpose, but having an air-gapped laptop in general is a good idea. So we'll just sort of let this cook, but as soon as we get a confirmation, we'll know right away. But yeah, so you know, essentially talking about this, I think it's relevant to this group because it's a sort of an offshoot. It's a privacy concern. The level of protection that you get from this is absolutely unique. It's not even, rare. Nothing else in the world. There is no other device in the world that does this level of computation. This is brand new, and it's actually patterned after another sort of previous generation of cryptocurrency called Zcash, which also has some privacy features baked into it, but its privacy is optional. Whereas Pirate Chain, which I have spoken about in the past, all of its transactions are it's the privacy of the transaction is mandatory. Okay, there is no way to send a sort of Bitcoin style transaction in the clear at all with Pirate Chain. So it's like Zcash with no public transactions at all. Whereas with Zcash, it's optional. You could do private or public. So this is absolutely unique. So once we're done, now that we've copied and pasted it, we don't need this anymore. This really shouldn't necessarily take that long, but it just, you're broadcasting. It's like an application level broadcast network in a sense, right? You're transacting this data here that we submitted to this to another node or nodes within the mesh network, and then they process it and pass it along, and it propagates throughout the whole network, and then they all know about it, and they all confirm it and reconfirm it. So it's really no different than any other cryptocurrency. But this is This is the cutting edge. This having a device like this, when you really dig into cryptocurrency and you know the value of anonymity that you could have had, they could have had in all other cryptocurrencies, it was like an afterthought. Whereas with this, it's completely baked in at the sort of network protocol level. So you've got complete and utter protection, and that translates to financial liberty, which is going to be really important coming down the line with central bank digital currencies, with the digital dollar that they're planning. It's really going to negatively affect everyone. So it's a good idea to you know take a look at this, and having this as an option is fantastic. So so I guess maybe while we're waiting, I can show you another example of a hardware wallet. Um, get this out of the way. I have an example of a Trezor, which is a different company, and it's another little USB device. You can also buy something called a Ledger, which is cheaper. But this right here is known as the Trezor Model T, and it's got a nice sort of touchscreen interface to it that lights up, and you can actually, there's a little pin code thing that rather than type it into a PC Helper application, you actually touch the numbers on the screen, and that's how you enter in the little unlock password pin code to enable it to function. But it's a USB device as well, right? And I think this is USB-C is the interface. But I highly recommend these. But pretty much it's in the same price range as this hardware wallet device. So it may seem a bit pricey, but if you think about this, this gives you financial transactions very similar to any government currency, or that would involve governments and banks. And there's no governments and no banks. This is literally international money. So when you're pursuing security, cybersecurity, dealing with customers, and they want to keep their stuff completely private, this is the way to do it. And this guy is basically who developed this is going to be developing an app for, I believe, Android and iPhone, so that you can carry this around in your pocket. This little, one of these devices, a Pirate hardware wallet, and plug it into your phone and use it on the go. Oops, I timed out. Let me unlock that again. Okay, now we can see, if we hover over this, we've got 3 confirmations out of 6. So if I was a merchant, and I was just pressed for time because somebody's making a point of sale purchase or something with cryptocurrency, sometimes a lot of times merchants will just be okay with it if only 1 confirmation comes through. So you don't have to necessarily sit around and wait for all 6 confirmations, or even more than that. Maybe if you're doing a large transfer, you'd want to wait. Both sides would want to wait until at least you had 6 confirmations. So now that we've got at least 1 confirmation, we can go here, and we can see that the balance has changed. This is the hot wallet, which originally had 5 our cryptocurrency coins. Now it has 10. And it says watch only because that viewing key allows you to using this online software, you can see the balance of what's leveraged by the hardware device. So it's read only. So you can see the balance, but you can't actually approve any transactions using purely just this online software. So that's pretty much it.
Oh wait, weren't you gonna check out the Pirate Explorer or something?
Oh yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can actually do that
cool.
right now. So let's do that. You pick one of these. You can say copy transaction ID, and let me pull up. I don't have it ready to go, but I'll just Google it. You can say Pirate Chain Explorer, and it's the first link that comes up. Every cryptocurrency has their Explorer website. This one just happens to be for Pirate Chain. And here you can actually search for a block, a transaction, or an address. You just paste it in. And these are the publicly available details of this transaction. If you were to do this for any Bitcoin transaction, you would see, you know, an input, outputs, you know, how much money was actually requested to be sent, how much actually, you know, was actually sent to somebody. You'd see an address of where it came from, where it went to, an amount, and you know, take a good close look. You're not going to see anything here. But the most you'll see what fee was actually paid, which I did bump that up to from 0.0001 to 0.0002 just to speed it up. So exactly zero information got leaked, period. So this is the proof in the pudding.
Nice.
Any other questions?
Yeah, what should I do to make my tinfoil hat better?
Exactly this.
Awesome.
Okay. Just make sure your tinfoil hat is better than the one that I created at DEF CON with the FBI trucker cap. It amplified my brainwaves, and I was able. All the feds around me lit up.
Oh God.
It was exactly the opposite effect of what you're supposed to achieve with the tinfoil hat competition.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
So you've gone through the process of storing and spending it. What is the best means of obtaining pirate coin privately?
Oh, sure. Okay. So what you would do is you would go to any conventional centralized exchange. A really popular one is, let's see, Coinbase.com. If you're familiar with cryptocurrency, of course, I have to verify because I'm bouncing this signal off of 7 satellites, which it doesn't like me. Why doesn't it like me? Anyway, it's Coinbase.com, right? So just go to Coinbase, any
Okay.
conventional site, you know,
Yep.
register your bank account with it, okay? Whatever they do. They've got know your customer, AML, anti-money laundering crap you got to do, drop a blood firstborn, whatever they require, right? With that, you could then purchase Bitcoin if you wanted to, or Litecoin, or any number of other coins. And once you actually have that, you would need to exchange it with somebody else who wants Bitcoin or Litecoin or whatever it is that you purchased, and swap it out for anonymized pirate chain. And a really good way to do that, which is a much simpler way to do it than I had previously demonstrated in my prior talk, is something called atomic DEX. And let me see. So atomic, oops. So atomic DEX is what's called a decentralized exchange. It's not a centralized exchange, and that's an important distinction in that a centralized exchange like Coinbase actually has an online web wallet that holds your money because it's called custodial. There's a risk in that if they want to freeze your money, they can, right? The goal is to go to some place, a conventional place like Coinbase, buy, you know, your conventional cryptocurrency. I prefer Litecoin because it's meant to have very similar wide adoption like Bitcoin does, but it's nowhere near as expensive and slow as Bitcoin, and it's pretty much as widely accepted as Bitcoin is. It's much faster, and it's like the transaction fees are like a fraction of a penny. So you can buy that here or buy that at Coinbase. Once you have that, you can then transfer it to a self, you know, custodial web wallet if, or whatever, like wallet software on your PC if you wanted to, or you could directly transfer it over to Atomic DEX. Now, Atomic DEX is not actually a service like an online service like Coinbase is, right? It's non-custodial. What you do with Atomic DEX is you actually download fat client software that runs on your system, and it actually, they don't hold your money. your wallet lives in the software you downloaded and it lives on your PC. Okay, so it's non-custodial, and it uses a feature of exchanging money called an atomic swap, which allows transactions to flow between one cryptocurrency blockchain network and another blockchain network without a centralized broker approving it or disapproving it. So it's purely peer-to-peer. So from here, you can download the software and load it up. And once you get it set up, then it actually, for all intents and purposes, it looks like you're dealing with something like Coinbase, but no one else holds your money but you. And so,
Gotcha.
yeah, so basically, you get on that website, and they've got little markets for exchanging currency pairs. So you would, like, let's say you bought on Coinbase Litecoin. You could take that Litecoin, load up this Atomic Dex software, create a wallet there, which resides only on your PC. Then you go to a currency pair that matches, let's say, Pirate Chain and Litecoin, because you have Litecoin that you bought from Coinbase. And then you take that, and there are going to be people that are swapping these coins, like between that currency pair. And you say, okay, I've got some Litecoin, I want Pirate Chain. Somebody else out there is already registered to sell their Pirate Chain because they want Litecoin. So it matches those transactions. So you just select it and say buy, and then it uses advanced cryptography to do essentially it's the atomic swap functions like escrow, like you're buying a house in a sense, in that it's an atomic transaction in that the whole transaction either completes or it doesn't. So just like when you're signing a bunch of paperwork to buy a house, if the whole process doesn't go through, they just reverse the whole transaction and you get it all back. And it's all done with advanced cryptography on chain as a distributed app. So if you've
Okay.
ever heard of a DApp,
Yep.
yeah, it's essentially a DApp, but it doesn't run on the most DApps. When people think of that, that's like Ethereum. This does not use the Ethereum blockchain. This actually uses all the blockchains. They've got like 500 different cryptocurrencies. So once you have that software and you've done your atomic swap, you've now lost your Litecoin that you bought on Coinbase. You then get an exchange of some Pirate Chain, which is instantly anonymous right then and there, which you can then, from your Atomic Dex wallet, you can then go to your Pirate Chain wallet within that software, and you can transfer it over from there as a straight Pirate Chain to Pirate Chain peer-to-peer transaction from that directly to this treasure chest software. So you've done
Gotcha.
a hot wallet to hot wallet transaction, but now you have Pirate Chain, and you can keep it in your hot wallet within this software if you wanted to, or immediately transfer it to this or whatever, like this this pirate device right here. So literally, you could just send it directly from Atomic Dex to this cold storage device if you wanted to, but then you're revealing your
Wallet address.
your wallet address to Atomic Dex. And if you didn't want to do that, you don't have to do that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? I'm going to unlock this, and maybe we can see the further confirmations, just so you can see.
Is there an additional fee from Atomic Dex to your treasure chest?
No, it's zero fees. I mean, there is always going to be some sort of a transaction fee for a broadcast transaction on any cryptocurrency. Like if you had, like if I have money sitting, in this wallet, right, in my hot wallet, and you've got a hot wallet too, and I could literally just peer-to-peer send from me to you over that blockchain network, peer-to-peer. Doesn't involve anybody. Self-hosted to self-hosted, right? That's like I'm standing in front of you, and hey, you go, hey man, you owe me $5, and I reach my wallet and I hand you $5. That's it, peer-to-peer. And because it's also Pirate Chain, it's 100% private and anonymous, which you'll never get with any of these other ones. But that's peer-to-peer.
Hey, Warelock, we are at time. Sorry, I forgot to give you a notice earlier.
Okay. Any other final questions?
Cool, man. Well, thanks. Thanks for giving the talk.
Yeah,
Thanks,
sounds
dude.
good.
Yeah, thanks, Warelock.